Welcome back to Inside the Glass for our final segment of this week's show, which is brought to you by College Hockey Inc.
Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 90% rate. Joe Pavelski.
Backhand scores! Wow, what a goal!
Johnny Gaudreau. And Torrey Krug were stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you are a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey. Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow @collegehockey.
Champions of the college hockey world!
Welcome back to Inside the Glass for our final segment of this week's show, which is brought to you by College Hockey Inc. And we're back. All right, it is time to give you the USHL Players of the Week for the final week of the regular season, where we will also give you the final standings and take a look at the final playoff bracket. So we will start with the USHL CCM Players of the Week. We'll start with the forward of the week, and that was Anthony Delgaizo of the Muskegon Lumberjacks. In 2 games played, he had 3 goals, 2 assists, and a +4 rating last weekend. Delgaizo earned his first career USHL hat trick in Muskegon's 5-2 road victory over the Eastern Conference leading Chicago Steel on Friday, before tallying a pair of assists to help the Clark Cup playoff-bound Lumberjacks pick up a 5-2 victory over Bloomington in the final game of the regular season. The Basking Ridge, New Jersey native finished the 2016-17 campaign with 24 points in 57 games, including 7 points in his final 6 contests. This weekend also marked the second and third multi-point performances of Delgaizo's USHL career. Delgaizo is in his second season in the USHL and has 27 points in 97 career USHL games. He is committed to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst and previously played for the New Jersey Rockets and Del Barton School.
Your defenseman of the week was Ty Farmer, also of the Muskegon Lumberjacks. In 2 games played, he had 2 goals, 1 assist, and was a +2 rating. Farmer dished out his 12th assist of the season in the 5-2 win over Chicago on Friday. That followed up with 2 goals, including the game-winning tally on Saturday against the Bloomington Thunder. The Michigan State commit finished the season with points in 3 of his last 4 games, with 4 points in that span. In total, Farmer had 16 points in 53 games during the 2016-17 season. The O'Fallon, Missouri native was acquired by Muskegon from the Youngstown Phantoms in late December and had 9 points in 24 games with the Jacks. This is Farmer's 3rd season in the USHL, and he has amassed 24 points in 111 career USHL games. He originally joined the USHL via a tender with Youngstown prior to the 2014-15 season and previously played with the Phantoms and St. Louis AAA Blues.
And the goaltender of the week was Ivan Kublikov of the Youngstown Phantoms. Last weekend, he went 2-0-0 with a 1.0 goals against average and a .952 save percentage. Youngstown needed a pair of wins to clinch the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, and Kublikov helped the Phantoms do just that. The Belarusian netminder stopped 18 of 20 Team USA shots in a 4-2 win on Friday before posting a 22-save shutout in a 3-0 win on Saturday to help Youngstown advance to the Clark Cup playoffs for the first time since 2015. Kublikov finished the season with an impressive 30-16-0-5 record, a 1.93 goals against average, and a .919 save percentage. He was one of the top goalies in the USHL all season long, finishing 2nd in goals against average, tied for 2nd in wins, and tied for 5th in save percentage. He was also the busiest goalie in the USHL, as he led all USHL goalies with 3,050 minutes played and was tied for the league lead with 52 games played. Kublikov was also named USHL Goaltender of the Week on November 28th and was named to the NHL Central Scouting Players to Watch list earlier this season. He previously played for HK Gomel 2 in Belarus and was selected 12th round, 190th overall by Youngstown in the 2016 USHL Phase 2 draft. Those were your USHL CCM Players of the Week. CCM is the official equipment provider of the United States Hockey League. And now we're going to take a look at the final standings now that the regular season has concluded, and we will start with Sean taking a look at how things settled out west.
Thanks, Matt. The Sioux City Musketeers clinching the Anderson Cup, also home ice throughout the Clark Cup playoffs. They finished with a record of 40-13-5-2 with 87 points. Right behind them, the Waterloo Blackhawks, second place in the West, 40-16-2-2 is their record for a total of 84 points. In third place, the Fargo Force finished with a record of 36-19, 4-1 with 77 points. And the Des Moines Buccaneers rounding out the final playoff teams in the West with a record of 36-21-3 with 76 points. In fifth place, the Lincoln Stars, they finished with a record of 32-22, 5-1 with 70 points. In sixth place, the Omaha Lancers with a record of 22-31, 5-2. They finished with 51 points. Also with 51 points were the Sioux Falls Stampede. They finished with a record of 21-33-6. And the Tri-City Storm rounding out the West with a record of 21-31, 6-2 for 50 points.
And in the East was won by the Chicago Steel with a record of 38-17, 2-3. They had 81 points. Second seed via tiebreaker ended up going to the Dubuque Fighting Saints with a record of 36-17, 5-2. They had 79 points. The Muskegon Lumberjacks also had 79 points and a record of 37-18, 3-2. But Dubuque had 4 more regulation plus overtime wins than the Lumberjacks did, giving Dubuque the number 2 seed. And in the fourth seed were your Youngstown Phantoms with a record of 34-20, 5-1, giving them 74 points. In fifth place, outside of the playoffs, were the Green Bay Gamblers. They had a record of 34-22, 2-2, giving them 72 points. In sixth place were the Bloomington Thunder. They finished with a record of 25-27, 5-3 for 58 points. In seventh place were the Madison Capitals. They had a record of 23-32, 1-4 for 51 points. Team USA finished with a combined record of 23-34, 1-2 for 49 points. And in last place in the Eastern Conference and getting the first pick in this spring's USHL drafts, the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders, who finished with a record of 12-44, 3-1, which gave them 28 points on the year. Sean, why don't you go ahead and break down the playoff bracket for us out west?
You're absolutely right, Matt. The playoff bracket starts off with the Sioux City Musketeers taking on the Des Moines Buccaneers. Like I said earlier, the Sioux City Musketeers do have home ice advantage throughout the playoffs, having clinched the Anderson Cup. And the second matchup in the West are the Waterloo Blackhawks taking on the Fargo Force. The Force will be visiting the Blackhawks to start the other side of the Western bracket. So it's going to be a tight race in the West, and it's going to be just as tight in the East.
Yes, in the Eastern Conference, the Chicago Steel will be hosting your Youngstown Phantoms. In the 1 versus 4 matchup, the 2-3 matchup, something that I'm really interested to watch how it unfolds, is the Dubuque Fighting Saints against the Muskegon Lumberjacks. All right, Sean, taking a look at the regular season series between the playoff matchups, the Phantoms were 3-2 against the Chicago Steel, and the Muskegon Lumberjacks were 2-1-0-1 against the Dubuque Fighting Saints. So that's 2 wins, a loss, and then a loss and a shootout for the Jacks against the Fighting Saints. What have you got out west?
Well, Matt, the Sioux City Musketeers pretty much dominating the Des Moines Buccaneers, going 3-0-0 and just 1 shootout loss against the Buccaneers. And the Waterloo Blackhawks going 3-0-0 against the Fargo Force. So some tight matchups there. Sioux City looks to continue their dominance over the Buccaneers, and the Waterloo-Fargo series could go either way.
So yes, Sean, there are some intriguing matchups here in round 1 of the 2017 Clark Cup playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see how this coming weekend shakes out. Can't wait to get to it with you next week on next week's episode of Inside the Glass. So, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. For Sean Stewart, I am voice of the Phantoms, Matt Lipsack. We'll catch you next week. So, everybody be sure to tune in this weekend to either My Hockey TV or MixLR to catch Rob Sanderson's calls of Games 1 and 2 of the Phantom Series against the Chicago Steel. So, one more time, for Sean Stewart, I'm Matt Lipsack. Sound out. Fade to black.